Hundreds of thousands of pounds of political party donations currently go to ad agencies. But are future prime ministers using the same subliminal techniques to sell us election pledges that are employed by ad men to flog washing powder and weapons? As last week's figures show, advertising in Britain is expanding at its fastest pace for 5 years. But who is paying for these tax-deductible glossy ads? Joining me now is an award-winning copywriter, brand consultant and author of Brand Psychology, Consumer Perceptions, Corporate Reputations, Jonathan Gabay. Welcome, Jonathan, to Going Underground. So the book has quite a bit about quasi-subliminal techniques used by marketers and advertising agencies. Tell us a little bit about the smoke and mirroring.
The smoke and mirroring. Okay, well, the thing is that we're living in an age that branding has changed very dramatically from the brands that we can see over there in terms of the logos and things like that. It's not just about a logo. Today, it's about getting inside the consumer's mind space in a much deeper way.
I was surprised. There were diagrams of brains in the book, left lobe and right lobe. How psychological and psychiatric is it becoming?
Totally. No, it is. Look, put it like this. By 2020, there's going to be approximately 40 zettabytes of data out there. Okay, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. What it means, that's enough data.
Calculating the zeros.
You're just adding up there. Yeah. No, it means enough data, to record every human conversation ever had. Now, with so much data, and with with everyone going online non-stop, because online now becomes the natural way of doing things, what we've got to do is that from a human mind's point of view, evolutionary point of view, how do we get people to then experience a brand when what they're doing is experiencing things in their head? It is a problem that big brands, including all of the ones that you've got in the background here, which I've dealt with some of these people, the problem is that they are very good at measuring how many people are clicking or not clicking and that sort of idea. But what they're not getting at this point is why are they clicking or why are they not clicking?
But what about how companies will then seek different avenues into our consciousness, as it were? I was interested in how you talked about a way in which to smuggle advertising into editorial content so that it looks like journalism when in fact it's...
That's called native advertising. Now, it's been proven, I'm actually reading something from America last week on this, funnily enough, and it's been proven now that banner adverts, traditional banner adverts, people really are not looking at them, okay? So what's happening...
It's a bit of a waste of time of a multi-billion-dollar industry, but yeah.
Well, but it's because we're becoming immune to the whole thing. This is why the psychology is so really important. And so what's happened is that with native advertising, the good news is there's native advertising, which is going to be a piece of editorial, usually in a little box or something, that's going to have something that looks like it's got something to do with what you're reading in terms of the official bona fide website. And then you go into it, and actually it leads to something which is a commercial venture rather than something else. And another way of getting people in is something called clickbait headlines. And a clickbait headline is something that it looks intriguing, and it doesn't quite tell you what it's going to be, but it's intriguing enough to get you to actually click it. Now, the downside. The downside is people are wising up to all of this stuff. And so, again...
But it's an upside, actually, some might argue.
Well, from the brand point of view. Yeah, well, from the brand point of view, it's a downside, because people are all, they're getting wise to this sort of idea. So that goes back to the psychology of, so when that doesn't work, what do you do next? Is
this crisis of confidence that's hitting all the multinational companies? I mean, there's always been some people have said, the whole reason for advertising, why do it? Because, if your product's good enough, put it out there. Now, multinational...
Well, but if people don't know about it, that's the reason to advertise. It's as simple as that. I mean, unless people know about it.
This is more brand management and protecting a brand and against other competitors, maybe new competitors that make better products, who knows?
Oh, absolutely. But even if they did make a better product, it goes back to brand psychology, which is, I could still sell you the product, which is the inferior product, because of other reasons.
I just want to get on to something about who pays for all this brand management.
You do.
We're paying for it. I mean, there's also a tax deduction
they get. You are paying for it.
on the top of the price of all these
Well,
products.
you have to. I mean,
we're paying
someone's got to
twice.
pay for it. There's always a cost.
What about these techniques being used to market foreign policy, wars, let alone
no,
the
that's-
arms
that's
companies
more-
that benefit from the wars?
Sometimes, in fact, more often than not, you know, people aren't. Who want? No one wants to, including me. No one wants to ever go to war for any reason. Okay, but how do you sell a war?
Well, some people do actually. Arms companies probably quite enjoy
Yeah,
wars and make quite a lot of money out of them.
Yeah, we're absolutely, they're okay. But most people, the ordinary guy in the street, we don't want to go to war. But what this is about how do you get into people's mindset in terms of getting them to believe in a cause. If I may, can I be slightly controversial here?
Go ahead.
Are you sure? I think one of the most powerful brands today, I'm not talking about commercial brands. One of the most powerful brands today, I think, is ISIS as a brand. And I tell you why. I can tell you, first of all, I have nothing to do with ISIS. I don't want anything to do with ISIS.
Nor does anyone here.
Exactly.
But I think everyone's familiar with the use of audiovisual techniques.
Exactly. But it's more than that, because what brands are selling today, they're not selling just the product or the service. What people are looking for is a cause. Yeah. Now, someone like that is giving people a cause, and we know about these terrible stories about youngsters joining up ISIS and so on and so forth. But what they've got right is that they've got the cause over there, in there. And what's really fascinating to me from a brand psychologist point of view is that is their interpretation of something, because they're not actually saying, and this is definitive. Because there's another guy who would say, well, no, this is a different interpretation of something. But yet it's being packaged in such a way that it's giving people a cause. Hope is the best product of all. Because hope is that by, say, for example, I'm going to buy an Apple Watch or whatever it might be. Once I bought the watch, okay, Apple will say, I'm also going to sell you the hope that because you've now got this technology, you can get into an ecosystem and you can start buying other things. So that's hope. In other words, what is hope? Hope is a future. Hope is going further.
Okay, well, some people might say this is a horrible distortion of what it is to be a human being. How can human beings destroy that pyramid as constructed by these multinational companies that are all interconnected, whether it be in the New York Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange? How can we actually break that pyramid and become more authentic as individuals who use ideas like hope and so on in something that's more valuable collectively?
I would say, at the moment, the answer to this goes back to what I said before, which at the moment, these multinational conglomerates and all the rest of it, we become commoditized. Everyone is a commodity, okay? If you don't do your job well, you know what? I got another guy who would do your job. So everything is a commodity. So we're becoming numbers, number crunching. Because at the moment, what they're doing is that they're not thinking about the human aspect of the whole thing. They're not making it, they're not humanizing it, if you wish. They're not making it authentic.
But that's still using these principles to sell more goods.
No, I'm introducing these principles. That's the whole point. It's because at the moment, people are slavishly just going by the numbers, yeah? It's a bit like a television program, yeah? Do we keep the program or don't we keep the program? Well, did we get enough people watching the program? Yes or no? And if we got enough people, we get the advertisers and it goes in.
Jonathan Gabay, thank you.
My pleasure.